Fake news, bots, political influence. You've probably heard these terms thrown around a lot since the 2016 presidential election, which put Facebook's ability to influence politics in the spotlight.
Facebook has come under fire recently for its role in last year's election.
29 million of its users directly received Russian content. We're talking about ads and fake news.
But it's clear now that we didn't do enough to prevent these tools from being used for harm as well. And that goes for fake news, for foreign interference in elections, and hate speech, as well as developers and data privacy.
Of course, a lot has changed since then. There are new policies, politicians, and platforms tackling these problems. At the same time, there are new strategies and tactics for spreading disinformation, like in Azerbaijan and Honduras, where political parties were found to be creating hundreds of fake accounts to spam Facebook with pro-government messaging or attack their opponents. This kind of activity can create a false sense of support around some politicians and make others appear less popular than they really are. And campaigns like this are being waged by powerful people in countries across the world. So, with the US midterm elections approaching, let's check in and see what the state of political influence on social media looks like today. Facebook has its own term for this sort of planned, politically motivated activity on its platform. They call it coordinated, inauthentic behavior. Shelby Grossman, a research scholar and political scientist at the Stanford Internet Observatory, walked me through what an example of this behavior might look like.
A typical campaign might be a bunch of Facebook pages, Facebook groups, and then fake profiles. And they're all pushing a similar narrative. Maybe they're doing this by creating Facebook pages that are pretending to be independent news outlets, publishing news stories, and they have their own website and lots of other social media accounts like in Instagram and Twitter, but they're all kind of pushing this one narrative.
According to Shelby, there are some common misconceptions about these type of campaigns, like they aren't necessarily pushing fake news or facts. Often, they're sharing and amplifying opinions, maybe praising one politician and criticizing that person's opponent. And there's actually often real people behind these fake accounts. Creating them can even be someone's job.
It used to be when we talked about coordinated inauthentic behavior or influence operations that originated in another country, were linked to that government, that those operations were being run by the government. Increasingly, governments are outsourcing their operations to digital marketing firms or public relations firms. They're doing this for a lot of reasons. One reason is just that it's cheaper than running the operation in-house. Another reason is that often digital marketing firms are just better at this. They're better able to create content that's going to resonate with people. And then the third reason why they're outsourcing is because it provides a level of plausible deniability. So if the operation is uncovered by Facebook or Twitter or whoever, they're probably only going to be able to attribute it to this digital marketing firm, and they won't have any visibility into whether a government was paying the digital marketing firm. That means that the government can just claim, oh, it wasn't us, it was just this random rogue like digital marketing firm.
As Shelby pointed out, this isn't just a Facebook problem. Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and other social media platforms are targets for coordinated, inauthentic behavior. Both Facebook and Twitter work with researchers like Shelby to investigate these campaigns when they find them, in hopes of learning more about their origins, how much influence they really do hold, and the strategies being used to implement them.
For example, we looked at a campaign that originated in Russia recently that Twitter suspended. It's pretty common for these campaigns to steal profile photos from elsewhere on the internet. So you see a profile photo, you reverse image search it, and all of a sudden you're on some Ukrainian dating site, and they had stolen the photo from that. But what we saw is they weren't just stealing the photos, they were then photoshopping them and changing the light, and it made it really difficult for us to reverse image search them. So we're seeing those types of tactics being used, which can, Facebook and Twitter have access to, back-end data, but for people like us, those tactics can make it harder for us to discover these operations.
Can I, as an average user, spot one of these campaigns?
I think it's really hard. I mean, it's hard enough for me, and this is like my full-time job. So I think really the burden here lies on the platforms who have access to the most data to be looking for these and finding these networks, and for researchers like my team, for reporters, and the government, and for all those actors to kind of be sharing information when they find these sorts of networks.
Last year, a former Facebook data scientist, Sophie Zhang, came forward with allegations that the platform was not doing enough to identify and remove coordinated inauthentic behavior, particularly when it comes to countries outside of the West. She claims to have identified multiple coordinated political influence campaigns during her tenure that the company failed to address in a timely fashion, if at all. Facebook did not respond to our request for a comment about those allegations, though a spokesperson previously told The Guardian the company, quote, disagrees with Ms. Zhang's characterization of our priorities and efforts to root out abuse on our platform. In October, Sophie testified about her experience with the company and concerns over the impacts of these political influence campaigns to the British Parliament.
In terms of civic discourse, if people don't know who to trust online, then they're unable to trust anything at all, and that is what can be very harmful.
Even if Facebook or Twitter have a 99.99% success rate in taking down all these networks, just given the size of how many people are on these networks, even 0.0001% can be a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure there's stuff that's being missed. It's totally unknowable, the scale of what's being missed, because if we knew how much was being missed, it wouldn't be being missed, it'd be found. So I think it's really hard to know how much is out there that no one is spotting. It's totally unreasonable to expect that this stuff just isn't going to happen. I think, we should normalize reporting this information quarterly. We should have some standards for how the numbers get reported so they can kind of be compared.
Do you have any tips for general social media users, especially in the United States, heading into a midterm election season, to not be taken advantage of, not kind of be part of an authorized misinformation campaign like this?
Whenever I see content that makes me feel something really strongly, like if I see something on TikTok that makes me really angry or makes me feel really proud, I try to take a step back and ask myself whether there's someone who has a vested interest in making me feel that way. And I think that sometimes tones down my emotions in a way that's helpful.
So until next time, don't spread fake news, keep it real, and take a beat before you like, share, or comment on something you see online. I'm Hari Srinivasan, and this is Take on Fake.